Time for the ethanol chat. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a fatwah, said the actress to the bishop. I'm John Cadogan from autoexpert.com.au, the place where Aussie new car buyers save thousands off their next new cars. Hit me up on the website for that. This episode was inspired by a chap named Milo, who disagreed with me on ethanol blended fuel. I recently said that it was renewable, which it is, and that it dilutes our dependency on foreign oil, which it does, and in terms of its performance, it's not an inferior fuel, because it's not. Milo specifically requested a, quote, respectful response, and not a, quote, public video humiliation. Fine by me. Let's see how we go. I feel your defence of ethanol was a tad unfair. Your comments regarding its environmental friendliness as a renewable fuel are oversimplistic. Sure, we can grow more of it, but at what cost? Raping arable land and non-renewable fertilisation and removing food crops from the agricultural system in a nation already devoid of truly sustainable cropping land? Possibly not such a responsible fuel source then. Then there's the extra whammy that ethanol has substantially less energy density. This is, of course, all basically true, although I never actually alleged ethanol is environmentally friendly because it's pretty clearly not. My earlier comments about E10 are from the motorist's perspective. There's no reason not to use it, but ethanol does have a dark side, clearly. Motorists don't make policy decisions though, do they? We all park at the Bowser and we choose what fuel to burn. My comments in this report, therefore, relate to Australian ethanol, which is mainly produced from wheat. In the US, they use corn, and in South America, they use sugarcane. And the energy economics obviously vary as a result. At the risk of being totally parochial here, we don't have a famine problem in Australia. We have some poverty, but there's enough arable land. There's a money shortage for some people, but we have plenty of food. So I don't agree that ethanol production involves raping the land. However, the fertiliser is a direct derivative of crude oil. Norman Borlaug, the Green Revolution, hydrocarbon fertilisers and mechanised farming, they saved 1 billion lives globally. They should teach that stuff in schools because hydrocarbons are the best thing that ever happened to humanity, without a doubt. Here in Straya, farmers are going to grow what they can grow on their land and they are going to sell it to the highest bidder. And if part of that market is for ethanol production, that's fine by me. At an ethanol factory, the wheat gets separated into its two main constituents, starch and gluten. They ferment the starch to produce the ethanol and they sell the gluten into the food industry, at least as I understand it. The first big problem is ethanol's not green. All that marketing bullshit, you know, green and clean green leaves coming out of the petrol Bowser. That's A-grade bullshit right there. We produce ethanol here using coal and diesel, which is environmentally disgraceful. Here in Shitsville, there's effectively an ethanol monopoly. It's all made by Manildra, a company that operates one quite large ethanol plant in Bomaderry on the picturesque south coast. Coal and wheat roll in at one end and ethanol pours out the other. Manildra is privately owned by a rich dude named Dick Honan through his personal company, Honan Holdings. He is a prolific political donor, kicking the tin to the tune of $179,000 in the 2014-15 financial year. That's about the going rate for a presidential candidate to silence one porn star when you do the currency conversion. Between January 2013 and February 2016, entities broadly under the Manildra rubric made almost 850 grand or 5.5 porn star gags in political donations. That's according to Fairfax Media. According to the ABC's Four Corners, Manildra made $4.3 million, almost 30 porn star golden silencers, in donations over the past 2 decades, straight in the favour bank. Yes! Personal opinion. Shoalhaven Starches, a Manildra subsidiary, was fined $107,000 earlier this year for failing to disclose some of those donations in a planning application. It's a drop in the ethanol bucket, which the company described as, quote, an administrative error. On fundamentals, Manildra seems like a pretty shitty business. I don't know why they bother. Total income on sales for 2013-14 was a staggering $1.2 billion for Honan Holdings, according to Fairfax, but the taxable income was just $35 million, and that's a margin of less than 3%. Anorexic. This means the income tax payable was just $6.6 million on $1.2 billion in sales. And to put this in perspective, if your taxable income here in Shitsville is $100,000 per year for the total sale of your labour to your employer, and you pay tax at the same rate as Manildra, the impost of income tax to you would be $500 annually. That sounds like a pretty good deal. Yes. Where do I sign? I'm not accusing Manildra of being criminal tax avoiders, of course. I'm accusing them of being arsehole purveyors of social injustice, navigating a broken system with a defective moral compass. The corporation, not the individuals. Personal opinion. #fail the pub test. Mr. Honan appears to be rather the regular at meetings in the big end of town. According to Fairfax Media, he met with the then New South Wales Premier Mike Baird and other cabinet ministers 20 times in the lead-up to the government compelling small filling station owners to sell E10 for the first time. That policy decision has almost certainly pumped up the price of fuel, so thank you very much there. Manildra appears to have an organ grinder-monkey relationship with the top politicians. Former Premier Mike Baird certainly danced out on cue and bent over backwards to introduce the so-called biofuels mandate. It looked, felt and smelled like a crusade. Unfortunately, we stepped in it. Here's what the New South Wales Treasury said about that in 2012. Beyond Manildra, it is difficult to identify a net benefit for any other segment of society. The ACCC said in 2013 that E10 had, quote, reduced consumer choice and resulted in, quote, significantly higher prices. Even the Greens weren't convinced. The late Greens MP John Kay said, there's no evidence that requiring motorists to use ethanol-blended fuels has any net greenhouse gas gain or much in the way of air quality improvement. It kinda sucks when you can't sell an allegedly sustainable fuel even to the Greens. And yet none of this convinced the Premier. He put the Independent Pricing and Regulatory Tribunal on the case. That IPART report lobbed on the Premier's desk 3 years ago. It said no option would achieve the 6% ethanol mandate and result in a positive net benefit to the New South Wales community. That's an unequivocal statement. So, in the manner of a Yes Minister deleted scene, it appears that Mr. Baird sent IPART away to have another crack at their conclusion. I wonder why. In February this year, the New South Wales Planning Assessment Commission, they approved the reopening of one of the state's shittiest coal mines so that the dodgy output can be trucked to, you guessed it, Manildra's ethanol plant in Bomaderry. Yes! That's a lot closer than Wallerawang, where Manildra currently sources its coal, but if they're not careful, that will pump up their taxable income by reducing their transport costs. And nobody wants that. The Invincible coal mine in the Blue Mountains, right? It's next to a conservation site, and previous applications to reopen it were officially rejected on that basis. The Planning Assessment Commission said in 2014 that reopening the mine would be incompatible with the significant conservation of the site. The allegedly independent planning agency rejected that previous non-Manildra mining proposal, saying that open-cut mining there posed unacceptable risks and impacts and only limited short-term benefits. I wonder what changed materially, because soon it seems 20 filthy, stinking coal trucks every single day will stuff themselves full of low-quality shit coal and head across the beautiful Blue Mountains to the Manildra ethanol plant, which has breached its EPA licence more than 2,000 times, according to the Financial Review, to keep those boilers ticking over and that clean green ethanol flowing. Yes! Don't you just love lifting up the covers and seeing how the mechanism really works? Down there? I know I do. According to Fairfax Media, Manildra has development applications in play which will see the plant expand from 126 million litres to 300 million annually. Do you suppose there's really any doubt that this plan will get the green light? Hey, green light. See what I did there? When it does, I can guarantee you that it will be a great deal for Manildra. To wrap this all up then, if you've got a problem with putting E10 in your car on the basis that it's an inferior fuel, get your brain in gear. You need a rapid sequence induction of perspective. You can burn E10 all day long unproblematically. But if you want that to be clean and green, then first I'd suggest you'd have to clean up the state government. Good luck with that. This is classic. How have you not been assassinated? I'm so glad I subscribe. Thank you. Quite right, Matupo. In my line of work, assassination is perhaps the most sincere endorsement of one's work. And after today, it's even more likely. I'm John Cadogan. That was almost real journalism today. I'm so sorry. It's like committing a venial sin. Maybe that's why I feel so dirty right now, and not in a good way. Thanks for watching.